All right, so let's talk about the topic that you see. What the heck is a mandatory ride? And this video is really not just for people who are not in clubs. This video is for people who are in the clubs as well. Because what happens is when people hear mandatory, they go crazy and pretend and act like as if their whole life is about to come to an end because they were told that they have to do something. Well, guess what, man? If you have a regular 9-to-5 job, you have to be there because it's mandatory. If you don't come there on time, you can get fired. When they have meetings and they put mandatory, it is your job to be there. Why? Because in those meetings, you will learn what is going on within management, what is happening within the production line, what's going on in the rules and the regulations of the company. It's mandatory for you to be there. So I get to see a lot of guys who are not a part of motorcycle clubs. And I used to be that guy because of what I saw in movies, right? Before I started knowing better. Is that a lot of guys in the club that's not in clubs, they would knock clubs. Yeah, you know, I'm a grown man. I don't have no time to do what y'all do in clubs. I want to ride when I want to ride. I want to be able to get up and go when I want to get up and go without nobody telling me what to do. And da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, don't get me wrong. They do have some clubs that have some stupid laws. However, that's why you have choices, right? You have choices. And you don't have to join those kind of clubs. Now, the guys that's in the club, there are guys in clubs right now who I know who gets angry and frustrated when they have a mandatory ride, when they have a mandatory meeting. Well, your meetings are mandatory. In any club, well, it's supposed to be mandatory. That's why you have meetings. So check it out. What is a mandatory ride? A mandatory ride is exactly what it says. It's mandatory. It is for you to show up to this ride and be a part of the club doing what the club do. Now you have some clubs who it's mandatory that if a brother passes away, it's mandatory for the whole club to have to go to that funeral if you live within a certain miles of that individual, it is your job to get to that funeral as a club, right? Now you have other clubs who they say, hey, they don't want you riding your motorcycle without another member with you. See, to me, they use that as safety. See, that type of stuff is not my thing. And that's why clubs have so many different types of clubs, because not every club is for everybody, right? And that's what I'm saying. Y'all got to stop knocking clubs. So mandatory rides, to me, is essential because most clubs is not riding. Most club members are not riding together. It's not what you think. A lot of clubs just don't ride, okay? You may think they ride, but they don't. They will show up to certain events together and all that, but throughout the week, they ain't riding. Now, when you ride mandatory, it's important because it's fellowship. You're getting a chance to fellowship together, and it's not all the time. And within that fellowshipping, you're also learning safety, because now you're learning how your brothers ride, and they're learning how you ride. And that's why, to me, it's important for mandatory rides, because I'm not riding in a big group of people who don't know how to ride. If I don't know your riding style, I'm going to stay all the way in the back. I don't want to ride next to you because I don't know how you ride. So that's why it's imperative that these mandatory rides are held. Now, for all of you non-club members, not every ride is a mandatory ride. That's why it's stipulated by the president or the VP or the sergeant at arms or the road captains, whoever is going to be doing a ride, and they deem it to be mandatory. It's essential that you go and do a mandatory ride, because you get a chance to see your people. You get a chance to connect with each other. You get a chance to build. You get a chance to get away for a little bit. Even if you're doing an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, the memories are developed and built on the road. It's not developed and built in like pseudos. And I'm saying pseudos because that's where a lot of y'all club guys go to here in Georgia. Pseudos. Okay, bike night. Great. That's good. It's awesome. I go to pseudos. It's good. But you're not getting a chance to really fellowship, are you? No, you're not. The fellowshipping happens when you are on that road, pounding that pavement together, and you pull over to a stop, you go to a restaurant, you go sit in a park, you go watch a movie, whatever you're doing together as a unit, you are now developing memories with your brothers. So if you're in a club and you're struggling with these mandatory rides, ask yourself the question, why are you in the club? Why are you in the club? Or maybe you're in the wrong club. Maybe you're in a club where everything is mandatory and they're trying to run your life. You see me? You can't put me in a club like that. I'm too much of a free spirit to be in a club that's telling me what to do, when to do, how to do, where to go, when not to go. You see, that's not for me. But once again, like I said, there's a whole lot of different clubs out there for everybody. Everybody has a club that works for them. So if you're in that club and you know it's not right and you don't feel good in that club, then get out the damn club. You're in the wrong club. You don't want to be in a club where you're completely miserable at all. Now, I made a video about, quitting the club and watching the video before you quit the club. And I made some good points in that video. For me, at one point, I wanted to leave my club. And who knows, down the line, who knows? I might leave my club. We don't know the future. But right now, I'm in my club and I'm staying in my club because I'm fighting for my club and I'm doing what I need to do. So you just got to check yourself when it comes to that. But don't get mad about what mandatory is and feel like, it's not, I'm not used to this and this is not what it used to be. Hey, listen, focus the hell on what's going on right now in your club, whatever is for the greater good of your club. Focus on the club. That's why you're part of the club. You're part of the club to be a part of the solution of the club. And when you start to become a part of the problem and we complain about everything, now we got an issue. And then here's another thing to me in a motorcycle club that's mandatory. It's mandatory for you to have a motorcycle, an operated motorcycle. It is mandatory for you to have a Class M on your license. It is mandatory for you to ride your damn motorcycle. All right? So if you're in a club and you are breaking these rules, then you're not really a club member. You have to have your bike. Now, I know some clubs, man, I ain't naming names, but some clubs got members in their clubs who haven't had a motorcycle in 3, 4, 5 years, and they're still in the motorcycle club. Hey, man, if I'm in a gun club, I'm going to have guns, not knives. If I'm in a reading club, in a book club, I'm going to have books, not magazines. I'm going to have books, and we're going to sit down and talk about the books. If I'm in a martial arts club, I'm not going to be doing ballet. I'm doing martial arts. You see what I'm saying? So a motorcycle club, MC, motorcycle, means you need to have that, and that's mandatory. So mandatory is not the worst thing in the world. It's just how you look at it, and you got to be willing to understand that, hey, it's not as bad as people make it sound. It's not as bad as they make it sound. See, my club, we're doing a mandatory ride on the 21st. I'm looking forward to that because I don't get a chance to see a lot of my brothers. You see what I'm saying? I don't get a chance for us to really build with each other and ride with each other sometimes. I get a chance to see a few of them, but not a lot of them. So I'm hoping that these guys show up in numbers so we can throw Iron Bird on these roads and just spread out and just enjoy the road and the wind smacking us in the back of the neck and enjoying the therapy, well, smacking us to the front of the neck, not the back of the neck, because the wind is coming towards us. But you see what I'm saying? And some clubs, here's the deal with the mandatory stuff. If you don't show up for your mandatory, you get a fine. Yes, you do. Okay? You get a fine. Now, I don't understand why some people get irritated by fines. It's part of being in the club. The fine goes to the club account, and the club account that can go to club trips and go to other things that will benefit the club. If you don't go to these club things, you will get a fine. And sometimes, depending on the club you're in, it might be a little worse than just a regular fine. So, mandatory can have different levels. You see what I'm saying? Leave it in the comments. Let me know if you feel irritated by mandatory rides. If you feel like, mandatory rides takes away your freedom. Or if you feel like you're good with mandatory rides, like me. I'm good at mandatory rides. And I'm going to tell you guys, like, for example, right? I'm going up to the ride this Sunday. I don't really want to go to this ride. I don't. You know why? Because Covington is having Covington Bike Fest. And I love going to Covington Bike Fest. I would prefer to go to the Covington Bike Fest event, bring my Softail, let my Softail sit there, get some eyes on it, get some freaking good conversations going. However, because the ride is mandatory, I'm going, and I'm not mad about it because I know that we're going to have a blast, meeting up, cracking jokes, laughing with each other and all that. You got to put yourself behind the club sometimes, not in front of the club. Sometimes you got to put yourself in front of the club. I mean, I don't care what nobody thinks. Sometimes you got to do you, all right? Not all the time you got to do the club. So if you struggle with mandatory, don't. Try your best not to. Look at it from the perspective of why are we doing mandatory? Because if you don't do mandatory stuff, you're not going to get the brothers together. You're not going to get the sisters together. You're not going to be able to come together because now everybody is doing their own thing. Everybody and their mama is out doing their own thing. And before you know it, a year's passed, 2 years passed, and you haven't seen each other forever. So now when you see each other, you're like, yo, bro, I haven't seen you in a minute. Yeah, because you guys have not been meeting up to do nothing. You see what I'm saying? So suck it up, man. Suck it up. And for all y'all non-club members, if you ain't never been in a club, stop judging club members and categorizing every single member as the same and every single club as the same, because it's not damn true. It's kind of like saying that every Jamaican with locks in his head is the same. Okay? Oh, I'm a Jamaican and I used to have locks. So people thought that because I'm Jamaican and I have locks that I smoke weed. I don't smoke weed. Now, if I lived in Jamaica, I'd probably smoke weed because of the pureness of the herbs in Jamaica. I don't smoke weed. Or it's like somebody seeing a whole bunch of Chinese people walking around in uniforms, like, you know, like their uniform, martial arts uniform, or pajamas, and think that person is a martial artist. No, that's stereotype. So somebody made an ignorant statement and said, yeah, all club members are gang members. You kidding me? Get educated first. Understand what the heck you're talking about. Know that not every club member is obnoxious. Not every club member think they're above everybody. That's not the same for everybody. That's like saying all black people is poor. That's like saying all white people is rich. All Indians is doctors. Come on, man. All this stereotype stuff has to stop. It has to stop. Because at the end of the day, yo, we all got a planet to live on. And so you gotta understand, educate yourself. Once you get the education, then you will fully understand the whole lineage and the whole concept of what is going on within the club world. Don't let the media dictate your mentality. Don't let the media tell you what's the truth. All right, so if you're thinking about joining a club, yo, research the club. Find out if the club is really for you. Ask questions. Hang around the club. Make that mandatory. You know what I'm saying? Make it mandatory. Now, speaking of mandatory, some clubs have it that you have to have on black jeans and black boots. It's mandatory. Hey, that might not be for you, but for me, I don't mind having on black jeans and black boots, even though my club doesn't make that mandatory. But I don't mind that at all. Some clubs, it's mandatory for you to put the club before your family. I mind that, so that will never happen for me. See? So you got to choose the clubs that's out there for you, and don't let the word mandatory destroy you. It is windy like crazy, and I'm hoping that y'all can hear me in this highway. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, yo, good talking to y'all. I'm gonna keep on giving y'all some topics. If you have any topics that you think I should talk about while I'm riding, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we are going to build it up together. Big ups to all my club members out there. If you're in a 1% club, a 99% club, a social club, a riding club, yo, just big respects to all of y'all. Leave it in the comments. Let me know which club you represent, or you're a 1%er, a 99%er, what kind of club you in, and also how do you feel about mandatory rides? How do you feel about that, or anything that's mandatory within your club? All right, yo, this is Sensei telling you, let's get these miles, let's get this money, let's get this muscle, baby. We out of here. Peace.